We have never seen anything like this before, as the Bucks, they never came out of the locker room for their playoff game against the Magic, boycotting Game 5 of their playoff series against Orlando. That is the breaking news here on SportsCenter. It was an eerie scene in the bubble. Tip-off of Game 5, scheduled for 4 p.m. Eastern, but the Bucks players and staff just never came out on the court for warm-ups, never came out. It quickly became evident to everybody, including the Magic players and staff who were waiting for them, that they were not going to show up at all, boycotting this game as they protest the police shooting of Jacob Blake, the black man in Kenosha, Wisconsin, that took place on Sunday night. Let's take a look at the official statement that came down from the league. The NBA and the NBPA today announced that in light of the Milwaukee Bucks' decision to not take the floor today for Game 5 against the Orlando Magic, today's 3 games, Milwaukee versus Orlando, Houston versus Oklahoma City, and the Lakers versus Portland, have been postponed. They're all Game 5s, and Game 5 of each series will be rescheduled, end quote. For more, let's head down to the bubble in Orlando and say hello to Adrian Wojnarowski, our insider who broke this story. Woj, we saw your tweet come down at exactly 4:13 Eastern time that the Bucks were indeed boycotting this game, which seemed to come as a surprise to their opponents, the Orlando Magic, who were out on the floor waiting, and then they never came out. Take us through how and when the Bucks made this decision.
Sage, the Bucks' decision came obviously prior to the game, and it was a decision that they did not share with upper management, ownership initially. The league was taken by surprise. League executives, from New York who were at the game went down outside the Bucks locker room to talk to them when they didn't come out when the second horn or the first horn sounded, when teams would normally be out in warm-ups. And that really started a domino effect with Oklahoma City and Houston, and then the Lakers and Portland Trail Blazers. Once the Bucks made that stand, the other teams followed suit, and now there's a meeting tonight among players in the bubble to talk about where they go from here. As one player told me today, and other executives absolutely believe that the season's in jeopardy, Sage.
So it's not just games tonight, or maybe even tomorrow. Well, I'll just pick up where you left off there, because this is the first time hearing of it. The potential that this is the last time we've seen NBA basketball this season. How realistic of a possibility is that?
It is unclear, Sage, to me right now how realistic it is, but it is part of the conversation. And teams who are playing tomorrow are already talking amongst themselves today about whether they will play. There's 3 more games tomorrow. I think the tenor of that meeting with the players tonight, there will be certainly conversations with the Players Association. They've been ongoing with the league office. It is premature to say that we have seen the last NBA game this year, but listen, these players and these organizations, they are serious here about these issues. The Jacob Blake shooting touched off what was already a really raw environment within the bubble with players. They have felt these issues deeply since they've been here. They've continued to talk about them. They have made tangible, players and the league have made some tangible, put some tangible things in place moving forward. The coaches, but the players, there's a sense of helplessness among many and support among many others to stand shoulder to shoulder with them. And this is a moment in time in the NBA, in professional sports, and it is going to be a meeting tonight among players that I'm told, is going to start to dictate what direction this league and this bubble and these playoffs are going to go in.
I'm looking at your tweet about that, Woj, that you posted about 30 minutes ago. Again, it says every NBA player invited to join, every player invited to join the meeting in the bubble at 8 p.m. Eastern time to discuss how they will proceed from today's boycotts. That's what sources tell you and Zach Lowe. So again, is this players only? Is it in person? Do you know anything more about what this meeting will look like?
I believe it's in person. There are the teams who remain here in Orlando. I believe players can go. There are ballrooms here, meeting rooms for them to do this in. Whether there are going to be anybody from the Players Association or the league, I am unclear on that. Sometimes these things evolve as we get closer to those meetings. But my understanding, and Zach, is that this is a, really focused on a players' meeting and a conversation that has been ongoing in the bubble. Listen, Toronto and Boston have been talking for a couple of days about whether they wanted to play or were going to play game one of their series. Milwaukee was not as publicly vocal about not playing. You saw a very emotional George Hill the other day talking about the shooting in Wisconsin. Sterling Brown on the Bucks was a victim of police brutality. And Giannis Antetokounmpo, the leader of this Bucks organization, this Bucks team, the reigning MVP of the league, he is someone else who has been extremely supportive and strong-minded on these issues. And the domino really did start, the dominoes started to fall once the Bucks made that decision and did not come out of the locker room against the Orlando Magic today.
Once again, the Milwaukee Bucks, about 45 minutes away from Kenosha, Wisconsin, where all of this took place on Sunday night, the shooting of Jacob Blake. So I guess if there were a team to begin this, we shouldn't be surprised that it is indeed the Milwaukee Bucks. Woj, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that 8 p.m. Eastern time meeting. We know that you'll be standing by with more on that. Reaction on social media, as you can imagine, is quite strong. Some of the league's biggest names continued to react to the national unrest after the shooting. LeBron James, you can read what he said. We demand change, sick of it. Bam Adebayo saluting the Bucks and their decision. And also Donovan Mitchell, who has also been quite vocal, the young superstar for the Utah Jazz. We demand change. Also saluting the Bucks is Donovan Mitchell.